You know what most women get wrong about dating after 50? They think they need to learn how to read men better. But the truth is simpler than that. Serious men don't need to be read. They make themselves obvious. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. There's a difference between a man who's interested and a man who's serious. And at your age, you can't afford to confuse the two anymore. Because interest is easy. It's flowers and compliments and good morning texts. But serious is something else entirely. And most women miss the signs because they're not where you think they are. If you've been wondering whether he's just passing time or actually building towards something real, if you're tired of wasting energy on men who aren't on your level, this is for you. Hit that subscribe button. Because at Prime Women's Circle, we talk about the real signs of serious men, not the fairy tale version, but the truth. And if this resonates, leave a like. You deserve to know when a man is worth your time. Let me show you what serious actually looks like. Here's why this matters more at 50 than it did at 25. You don't have years to figure out if someone's serious. You don't have the luxury of waiting to see where it goes with someone who's still deciding if you're worth the effort. You've already survived bad relationships. You've already wasted time on men who weren't ready, who didn't see your value, who kept you in limbo while they kept their options open. And now? Now you need to be able to spot the difference immediately between the man who likes the idea of you and the man who's choosing you, between the man who's filling time and the man who's building a future. Because serious men show you differently, not louder, not with grand gestures, but with consistency, with integration, with the small, unglamorous choices that reveal intention. And if you know what to look for, you'll never waste time again. The first sign that a man is serious about you, he includes you in his real life, not the highlight reel, the real one. Men who are just interested keep you separate. You exist in the evening hours, on weekends, in the parts of his life that are optional. But serious men integrate you. He invites you to run boring errands with him. He asks you to come over when he's not at his best. He introduces you to his friends, his family, his everyday world. Not because he's trying to impress you, but because you're becoming part of his life, and he wants you to see all of it. This matters because it means you're not a secret. You're not compartmentalized. You're not the person he sees when everything else is handled. You're woven into the fabric of his actual existence. And here's the key detail. He doesn't wait for the right time to do this. He doesn't need 6 months to decide if you're worth introducing to his people. Because serious men know immediately when something's different, when someone matters, and they don't hide that. If he's keeping you separate from his real life 3, 4, 6 months in, that's not privacy. That's hedge betting. But if he's including you in the mundane, the messy, the everyday, that's serious. Drop a comment if you've experienced this difference. The man who kept you separate versus the one who included you. The second sign? He's consistent without you having to ask for it. Listen carefully, because this is where most women get it wrong. You think consistency means he texts every day or calls at the same time. But that's not it. Real consistency is about follow-through, about his actions matching his words without you having to remind him. If he says he'll call, he calls. If he makes plans, he keeps them. If he says you matter, he acts like it. Not just in the beginning when he's trying to win you over, but months in, on random Tuesdays, when life gets busy and stressful, and he has 1,000 other things pulling at him. Because here's what you need to understand about men. When a man is serious, you become part of his routine. Not an addition to it, not something he fits in when convenient. You become non-negotiable. He doesn't disappear for days and then come back with excuses. He doesn't leave you guessing where you stand. He doesn't make you feel like you're competing for his attention. His presence is steady, reliable, boring even, and that's exactly what serious looks like. The men who are inconsistent, who text constantly one week and ghost the next, who are all in until they're not. Those aren't men who are figuring things out. Those are men who aren't serious. And you don't have time for that anymore. If you're constantly wondering where you stand with him, you're not standing anywhere solid. You're standing on quicksand. But if you never have to wonder, if his actions are predictable in the best way possible, that's a man who's serious. The third sign is subtle but powerful. He plans for your future together. Not in vague, someday terms. In concrete, this is happening terms. Men who aren't serious talk about the future in theory. Maybe we could travel someday. It would be nice to. But serious men make plans, real ones, with dates. I'm booking us tickets for that concert in October. My family reunion is next summer. I want you there. Let's look at places to go for your birthday. He's not waiting to see if you'll still be around. He's assuming you will be because he's making sure of it. This matters because it shows he's thinking beyond next week, beyond the current phase. He's building something with a timeline. And here's what's interesting. Serious men don't just plan the big things. They plan the small ones too. He mentions a movie coming out in 3 months and says, "We should see that." He talks about winter and how he wants to take you somewhere warm. He makes offhand comments about next year like you're obviously going to be in it. Because in his mind, you're not a maybe, you're a given. And that assumption shows up in how he speaks, how he plans, how he moves through the world with you in it. If these signs are resonating, if you're recognizing the difference between men who are interested and men who are serious, hit that like button. Because this matters. Knowing what to look for means you never settle for half-committed again. And subscribe to Prime Women's Circle if you haven't already. We're building a community of women who refuse to shrink or settle. Let's keep going. The fourth sign that he's serious? Being with him makes your life easier, not harder. Now, listen, because this is counterintuitive to what romance novels and movies taught us. We've been conditioned to think that love is supposed to be hard. That struggle means depth. That drama equals passion. But that's a lie designed to keep women accepting less than they deserve. Real serious love is easy. Not boring. Easy. A serious man doesn't create problems for you to solve. He doesn't add stress to your life. He doesn't make you anxious, confused, or constantly on edge. He solves problems. He reduces stress. He makes things smoother. You tell him you're overwhelmed and he asks what he can take off your plate. You mention you're worried about something, and he helps you think it through. You're tired, and he handles dinner without being asked. This is what serious looks like in practice. Not grand gestures, not flowers every week, but the unglamorous work of making someone's daily life better. And here's the test. Does being with him drain you or restore you? Do you feel more exhausted after spending time with him or more energized? Do you spend your time together worrying about his moods, his needs, his reactions? Or do you feel free to just be yourself? Because men who are serious create safety, emotional safety, mental safety, physical safety. You don't have to walk on eggshells. You don't have to perform. You don't have to earn his good mood or his affection. You can just exist. And that's enough. If being with him feels like work, he's not serious. He's just present. But if being with him feels like coming home, that's different. The fifth sign is non-negotiable. He respects your boundaries without making you fight for them. This is huge because it reveals maturity, respect, and genuine care. When you say no to something, whether it's sex, plans, commitment pace, anything, a serious man accepts it immediately, without pressure. He doesn't pout. He doesn't guilt trip. He doesn't try to convince you or negotiate. He doesn't make you feel bad for having limits. He just respects it. Because serious men understand that boundaries aren't rejections. They're information about how to love you better. And here's what else happens with serious men. They have boundaries too. They're clear about what they need, what they can give, what their limits are, and they communicate them clearly. Because mature adults don't play games. They don't hint. They don't expect you to read minds. They use their words. If he pressures you when you say no, he's not serious. He's selfish. If he disappears when you assert a boundary, he wasn't committed. He was controlling. But if he hears you, adjusts accordingly, and continues showing up, that's a man who values you more than his convenience. The sixth sign? He's genuinely interested in your inner world, not just your body, not just your company, but your thoughts, your feelings, your past, your dreams. He asks questions that go deeper than surface level, and then he actually listens to the answers. He remembers things you told him weeks ago. He brings up conversations you had and builds on them. He wants to understand what makes you tick, what shaped you, what you're afraid of, what you're working toward. This matters because it shows he sees you as a complete person, not a placeholder, not a convenient companion, but as someone with depth, complexity, and a full inner life that matters to him. Men who aren't serious keep things light. They avoid depth. They don't want to know about your past pain or your future goals because they're not planning to be part of either. But serious men lean into the depth. They want to know your relationship history not to judge you, but to understand you. They ask about your childhood, your fears, your patterns, not as interrogation, as intimacy, because they're trying to figure out how to love you specifically, not women in general, you. So those are the signs. He includes you in his real life. He's consistent without you asking. He plans for your future together. He makes your life easier. He respects your boundaries. He's interested in your inner world. These aren't flashy signs. They're not movie moments. They're quiet, steady, unglamorous indicators that a man has moved from interested to committed. And here's what matters most. If you're with a man who does these things, you already know it. You feel it. There's no confusion, no wondering, no analyzing his every move. Because serious men don't make you guess. But if you're reading this trying to find signs in a man who's making you question everything, that's your answer right there. You shouldn't have to decode whether someone's serious about you. You shouldn't have to convince yourself that breadcrumbs are a meal. A man who's serious makes it obvious, not with words, with actions, with consistency, with the way he integrates you into his life and makes space for your future together. And anything less than that? It's not because you're not enough. It's because he's not serious. And you deserve someone who is. Tell me in the comments, what's the biggest sign that showed you a man was serious? Or what made you realize he wasn't? Let's share these stories. They matter. And if you want more real talk about relationships, self-worth, and refusing to settle, subscribe to Prime Women's Circle. Hit that bell. Because we're creating a space where women know their value, where serious is the baseline, not the goal. Welcome to the circle. I'll see you in the next one.